if I can, no, it won't do what I want. That's okay. All right, so what these diagonal lines are is they go over the Aufbau principle. The Aufbau principle is just saying that the electrons are going to fill up starting at the lowest energy level and go up from there. So, but not all the energy levels go in order like you would expect. So you have to have some sort of a method to figure out what order they go in without having to memorize it in a super hard way. So there are two ways you can do this. I'll show you this way, and then I'll show you the easier way toward the end. So this thing here, the thing with the arrows, if you look, there's a pattern to it. So as you go down in the first column that's all the way to the left, close to the arrowheads, you'll see it says 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and it goes down to 7s. And then the next column is all p's that go in order, but you see I skipped 1p because there isn't a 1p. So it goes 1s, and then when you get to the p's, go down one row. And then when you get to the d's, you drop down another row. And the same thing when you get to the f's. As you go down a column, they go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they're in numerical order. And as you go across a column, not in a column, as you go across a row, you'll notice that the n level, the number, is all the same. So the first row is 1, the second row is 2s and 2p, so they're both 2. The next one is 3s, and then 4s, and then 5s, and so forth. So if you draw this like this, and you put in these arrows that start at the right-hand side and they go diagonally down, the first arrow will just catch 1. So that'll be 1s. And the next one will just catch another one, and that's 2s. And then the next arrow starts picking up more than just one. So it picks up the 2p and the 3s. The next arrow is the 3p and the 4s, and so forth. So to figure out what order they're in, you just follow the arrows from the top, and you just keep moving down the chart. If you look over to the right in brown where it says Aufbau principle, it says 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p. And if you look over to the left, you'll see that follows the arrows. The arrows go 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, and so forth. If you look back over to the brown, you'll notice I circled the 3D and the 4D. The reason is because it goes 1s, 2s, 2p, so those are all 1s, and then all 2s, and then it goes 3s, 3p, so those are 3s, and then it goes to the 4s, so you expect it to be all 4s in a row, but instead it's 4s, 3d, 4p. So it goes S, drops down 1, and goes back up to 4. And it does the same thing again when you get to row 5. It goes 5S, drops down to 4, and then 5P. And the reason that you do the arrows is so you don't have to remember where does it drop down. The arrows will just show you as long as you follow the arrows. Okay. Yes, Arib. Oh. Can I repeat? Sure. And then what orbitals will we stop at? You probably won't get past a 7, so I wouldn't bother with anything past a 7. So I just make the chart till it goes down to row 7. All right. So first, you're welcome. So first, let's take a look at the chart again in green. Look down the column, the first column on the left, and look at the numbers, the order of the numbers. It just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you look at the letters are all the same in the first column. They're all S's. In the second column, the numbers again go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and those are all P's. And the next column is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they're all D's. And then the last one is 4, 5, 6, 7, and those are all F's. if you look across a row, well, before I get to that, if you're looking at the letters, they go in the order S, P, D, F. So just like that super poodles do fly thing, it's the same order, S, P, D, F. And so you start drawing arrows from the upper right to the lower left, diagonally. And so you're drawing them so that they pick up everything that's in a diagonal row there. So the first arrow just goes through one S. The second arrow goes through 2S. The third arrow goes through 2P and 3S. The next one goes through 3P and 4S. The next one goes through 3D, 4P, 5S, and so forth. Now, if you compare that to what I've got written in brown I just wrote out the order of the orbitals based on this chart. So it starts off with one S, and that's what the first arrow goes through. The next arrow goes through 2S, so I wrote that next. And then the next arrow goes through 2P and 3S, so I wrote those. And then 3P and 4S, so I wrote those. And then it goes to 3D, so I put that down. So the arrows are showing me that it goes from 4S to 3D, and then back to 4P, and then 5S to 4D, and then 5P and 6S. So they look like they're out of order. They're not, but they look kind of like they're out of order. Okay, cool. You're welcome. And there is an easier way to do it than this, and I'll show you that toward the end. There are two ways. This is the way I learned it, but then there's another way also that is very helpful as well. All right, so with oxygen 2-, this was just an example of how to do an electron configuration. And I did this, sadly, wrong. Can anybody see what I did wrong? How many electrons are there in? Yes, oxygen 2- has 11 electrons. And I gave it, let's see, first I said it had 10. And if you look below that, I gave it 2, 4, 6, 7, I gave it 8. And then below that, I gave it the electron configuration of 10. So all of that is wrong. So I'm going to do it on the whiteboard. So if you have that printed out or something, just make an X through all of that O2- stuff. If you don't have it printed out, make a note in your notes to ignore all that. Ignore everything on that page underneath the green arrows. Correct. It does